Hello, everyone. My name is Camden Miner,
And I'm Keaton Miner.
and we are with Helix Labs. And in this podcast, we're going to be breaking down AI topics and news to keep you informed and ahead of the curve. So, in this first episode, we're going to be diving into the latest AI releases in the past few weeks, and that is OpenAI's big announcements with their new models, and then Meta and their new suite of LLaMA's models.
Yeah, so I can kind of start off with going over OpenAI's release. They released actually like five new models this week. So they hit the GPT 4.1 early in the week. So this is part of their main GPT series. Supposedly 4.1 better than 4.5, which fun fact, they're actually removing 4.5 from the API at least. And so they released 4.1 full, 4.1 mini, and 4.1 nano. It seems 4.1 is better at everything generally than 4.0, but it's not like a state-of-the-art model. It seems really good for like text processing. Like you use Mini, process a ton of text. Use Nano. I mean, I haven't tested out Nano yet, but I would assume that Nano is also very good at processing large amounts of text, and I think that's what a lot of people like the Mini and Nano models for because they're so cheap and you can just put millions of lines of text into them and take unstructured data and get structured outputs. But the real like cool release, the fun release was the O series model. So O3 and O4 mini, which released just 2 days ago, I think. And I mean, my early impressions very, very good on O3 because I mean, the benchmarks all show O3 and O4 mini as like state-of-the-art models. They're usually right up there with Gemini 2.5 Pro and Sonnet 3.7, beating them in many different benchmarks, but I don't really care about the benchmarks as much anymore. It seems like as the models get better, the benchmarks become more and more useless. So it's really, you really have to use the models to figure out how good they are. And like Gemini 2.5 Pro is amazing, and Sonnet is really great at what it does, which is code, dominates at code. But O3 is very different. It's like when I used it at first, I didn't really like it as much. I didn't like the output that much. I could tell it was like a little bit smarter, but I didn't love the style of the output. And then I started using it some more for like science research, like literature searches, and it's honestly amazing. Like the real step change with O3 is how good it is at using tools. So that is like the first step in building sort of these agentic systems is how well can a model use a tool? Like a tool is such as the internet search. So like a model, you ask something and a model will search the internet, and they've been implementing this in multiple ways in like 4.0 for a little while, and it works fine. It's like if you have to ask a normal question like what's the score to such and such game, you'll get the answer. But when you do like scientific research, it doesn't work that well. Kind of hits the first couple answers and then gives you a sort of semi-response. But O3 is definitely fine-tuned on its deep research, the deep research outputs, because it is like a mini deep research every time you ask it a question, and I love it for that. I don't know if you've used it much yet or not.
No, I've used it a little bit for some going through some machine learning code that I built, some random forest stuff, and it was really good at generating more code and like viewing my output and saying, "Oh, hey, this population is too small, so you need to increase that. We're going to use synthetic minority oversampling." And so it gave some really complex stuff that was really good insights on my code. So I like it so far,
Now,
but the output is a little weird. It's it's strange because it has almost more documentation in the code. Goes through each step, which is helpful, but I'm just not as used to it.
I don't like that OpenAI and ChatGPT models, they don't output full code. They only give you little snippets, and it becomes hard to figure out where to put it inside a big script. I like that Sonnet gives out everything. That's my favorite part about Sonnet. But yeah, I haven't used it a ton for coding yet. I used it a little bit and it worked well, but it wasn't anything that Sonnet couldn't couldn't knock out easily.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting in the next few weeks to see, especially comparing to Sonnet, see how creative it is because Sonnet right now is top of the line, especially on the creative side, like front end development, generating sites or new pages on your site, it is fantastic. So it'll be pretty interesting to see how well it does on that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Sonnet I think will still dominate that if I had to guess, but I mean, the OpenAI models always seem much more tuned to text and scientific research rather than coding as compared to Claude. Um, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll probably come back with an update in a couple weeks on what our longer term impressions are of it. But I'm very very happy with the model right now. And I guess there was one more thing I left out. They did release the codex. So this is like the sort of their version of Claude Code, but it's going to be open source, and it basically gives an LLM access to your computer and can help to build sort of software frameworks, sort of in an agentic way, essentially. And so I haven't tested it out, but I plan on doing it in the future. I imagine it can like run up the API costs quite a bit. They probably just go crazy on their output, but I don't know. It seems really cool, and I think that, like I said before, O3's big change is on this tool usage. If you can use tools, you can do many things. Like you can start to put different workflows. If you have, some sort of I don't know, like you're working in manufacturing, or actually, let's take it to something I understand. You're working in biology, and I kind of wrote this in that Smart Enterprise newsletter. And you have this sort of LLM first workflow where you have an LLM that sits on top of sort of this automated machinery. And let's say you want to change the concentration of such and such drug based on whatever chemical you have that you bought from Sigma. You can have the model will think, says, okay, I need to search this chemical on Sigma. I need to find a molecular weight. Okay, now let's go use the tool that allows us to do a molarity calculation and do it correctly. Because yeah, sure, the model can probably do the molarity calculation itself correctly, but it will do it a lot more accurately. You can feel a lot more confident if it uses a tool that's very deterministic on calculating that, and then it can adjust those things and do your sort of automated flow, all without you ever coming in and doing the annoying small calculation. It's not a hard thing to do, but this is kind of a small example. And that's why tool usage is so important and why they're all focusing so heavily on tools.
So did we touch on, they also released O4mini too as well. Smaller model, optimized for, cost efficient reasoning. And so I think that's also going to be a really important step in those agent pipelines as well.
Yeah, we'll probably be using O4mini quite a bit in the next few weeks in some of our sort of client workflows, I think. At least testing it out, because I mean it's on par cost wise with 4.0, and it's a lot better than 4.0, so we should try it out a lot more. I guess we'll also have that update in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I think it'd go really good in some of the scripts we have running, those archive scrapers or some of those special tools that we have. So that was OpenAI's news, and then a few weeks ago, Meta had some big announcements with their 3 models that they put out, and that was LLaMA Scout, which is their smaller model, LLaMA 4 Maverick, and then LLaMA 4 Behemoth, which the name is very true. It has 2 trillion total parameters, and so a very large model, really focused on being centered in STEM is what I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah.
STEM-based model. Yeah. I guess we'll see on the benchmarks. But that's it. Their big model. Then Maverick has about 400 billion total parameters, so a very big model. But what's really cool about Maverick is they have MOE architecture, so mixture of experts. And I think it's 128 experts in Maverick total. And so it really takes down that 400 billion parameter down to 17 billion active parameters whenever send the task over to the specific expert.
Do you want to give a basic explanation of the MOE, like very basic for people who don't understand?
Yeah, yeah. So MOE, you can think of it as, let's say you have a company. You have in this company you have scientists, you have mathematicians, you have a marketing department, and then you get asked a question. Let's say a math question. A very math or physics based question. You're not going to go send that over to the marketing department to answer. You would send it to the mathematicians, and so that's really the basic concept behind it is sending the right tasks to the right people. And in doing that, that's how you lower your compute. So, like I said, 400 billion parameters in Maverick, but only 17 billion active because the tasks are being sent to the expert.
Yeah, makes it a lot more computationally efficient to have the MOE um, uh, architecture.
And then the one that I'm pretty excited about is Scout. That's their smaller model. 10 what is oh no, it's a 109 billion parameter model. So pretty big, but what's really special about it is it has a 10 million token context window, which is pretty outrageous. So, with that, you could imagine that you could be sending in, whole textbooks, tons and tons of documents into that context and being able to process and summarize it all. And then another cool thing about Scout is it's multimodal as well. So, you know, if those documents have text and images, it can process those images as well.
Yeah, so I mean, you were hitting on llama and all these nice things that they do, but I think that there's quite a bit of controversy surrounding this model release, and it started with the chat arena where they had Maverick and they showed that it was like top performer in the chat arena, but it turns out that they had kind of modified the model a little bit to optimize for being selected in the chat arena. If you don't know, chat arena is like where you ask a question and you get two different responses, and you choose the one that you prefer, and then it reveals what the model was, and slowly they accumulate votes. But the thing is, most of us can't judge how well the outputs are, and we tend to just choose the longer, more formatted text response to um, as the top choice. And so they optimized the specific release of Maverick uh, for chatbot arena and completely fudged those numbers. And it turns out there's been a lot of problems with the meta release. In fact, there's even people on LinkedIn who have left Meta and then specifically put on their LinkedIn profile that they did not work on Llama 4, that they worked on Llama 3 and Llama 2 only, and they're trying to avoid being tied to the Llama 4 because it just doesn't seem to perform that well in the real world. It's like whenever it's back on I think Maverick on the benchmarks, I can't remember which benchmark it was, but it's like 32nd overall, and it's a big model. Like 400 billion parameters is really big, so something went wrong, and the fact that they released this on a Saturday is really strange. It almost seemed like it was hurried and just thrown out there to get to sort of hide it.
Yeah, weird, weird.
Yeah,
Well, I
I don't know.
hope
I mean,
we.
I hope they get better. I mean, they're at least the only real. I mean, not the only, but they're the big open source American open source, and all other American companies have kind of failed in the open source department. It's basically between Meta and DeepSeek for who's dominating the open source, and it seems like DeepSeek is gonna take the cake on that because they're gonna release their R2 model in like within the next few months, and they'll probably be the top model.
What do you think about? I think there's talks. I don't know if OpenAI has announced it yet, but there's talks on OpenAI releasing a open source model.
Oh yeah, they said they'll. That's true. They will. They did say they would release their own open source model and that it would be a state of the art. But I'm guessing it's going to be a smaller reasoning model. I would guess. I mean, what I thought was going to happen was that O4mini was going to get open sourced, but apparently, at least it hasn't at at this time. But I mean, I'm sure that they will dominate open source if that's the case. I mean, it seems to me like the companies have figured out that the models are kind of just a commodity and that the real value lies in the consumer experience, which OpenAI is dominating because they are they I mean, like if you look at their daily active users, it's destroying every other model company. And it's because number one, they had that first mover branding advantage, and then number two, they've got the memory in ChatGPT is so nice now. It's so good. It like knows you. And as you spend more time on it, it's gonna become more and more sticky. Like how are you gonna switch over to another model provider when ChatGPT already knows all this stuff about you and your company, and gives you like very personalized advice based off your past conversations. So I feel like Anthropic really has to catch up on the memory side because they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I agree. I think on the memory side, but I think if Anthropic does, one thing that really keeps me to OpenAI right now is deep research. So I think
Mm.
if Anthropic starts putting out some, makes their own form of deep research, that would, I think, sway me more towards
I
Anthropic.
think they just did. I think they just came out like 2 days ago, yesterday or something. Sometime this week. They have like it's not exactly like deep research, but it's like a browser viewer, so it can see everything that you have on your browser and then give you summaries of different documents that you have opened. I'm pretty sure they did, or at least it was a demo I saw on Twitter.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be cool.
So I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll see. The model race is fun. I mean, I, they it it seems like the models will be able to do really good things, but I think at some point they'll hit a wall before, I mean, there's people that believe that they'll literally be able to do anything and like turn, I don't know, glass into drugs that cure cancer or some ridiculous thing. Uh, and I think they'll be extremely useful, but I think they'll kind of hit a wall, and that's why you see some of these bigger companies like OpenAI that are really, really building out the consumer experience to where everything is like top notch on there, and you're gonna have all these agentic workflows in ChatGPT. So if I was like a consumer app, I'd be very scared of competing with them. So, any other news thoughts before we wrap up?
I think that's all the news that I know of. Yeah, OpenAI's releases, Meta. Yeah, I think that's everything.
Are you want to? We can kind of hit on again real quick on how we think. I think that'll kind of be a recurring theme with Helix and our ideas is that like being AI native in the business and how like LLMs can kind of fit in workflow. Like kind of what I wrote about. Do you want to talk for a second about like something that you could see LLMs being used in some sort of an engineering workflow?
Yeah, I definitely can. What's been kind of on my mind for especially with the release of Meta's models, how you have Scout with a 10 million context window. I think you can start to build some really nice agent pipelines. What comes to mind initially is something in like law. I have a model that goes through and I have, just a database full of court documents. And so I send that model in and it takes in all that court data and summarizes it and understands, what goes where. And then once you have that summarized, you can then pass it off to a stronger model. Maybe that's O3, maybe that's Sonnet, or if you're going open source, maybe that's Maverick. You pass that off, and then that's able to find insights in that. Especially focused more locally, like in Oklahoma. Like if you were to look at Oklahoma law, where the AI companies haven't really dove into that yet, you can get some really great insights with that. So I think that one's really exciting, and kind of on your path of the smart enterprise that was talked about in the blog post that we made. I think we could, there's opportunities in especially in manufacturing that I think could be really good. Where you have models from the top down in the manufacturing facility. constantly monitoring output, what's going on, temperatures of machines, and constantly streaming in data. So let's say you're producing a part with CNC mills, and that's going down the line. You have a vision model checking that out, and then understanding what's happening, and then you send all that data off to a bigger model, which then can understand what's happening and provide insights. Like, based on this product that's coming out, I think we need to adjust the speed on the CNC. We need to lower that down to get a better product. And so I think that's going to be something that's really cool in the future. That's all I have.
I definitely agree. Yeah, I mean, they're going to take like any kind of unstructured data and they can make it structured, and it's going to they're all going to be implemented into any sort of workflow that you can think of, and make things just a bit more streamlined. And I think that's something that we'll probably hit on every now and then in episodes, because that's what I really think that the future of business and sort of research looks like, is sort of this synthesis with LLMs and multiple tools that they have access to. So, all right, well, any other thoughts? If not, then let's go ahead and close out.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, we'll see you guys in the next few weeks with a new episode.
All right. Bye.
Bye.